Evil is on board. Powerful evil.
Wait! Before we get started in this film that's out in theaters right now, please do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button right at the bottom. The Last Voyage of the Demeter is the new reimagined Dracula film starring Corey Hawkins. And in this film, he plays a doctor that is on a ship traveling to London, and on this voyage there is Dracula. Now, this is the second Dracula film that we've seen this year. The first one being Renfield, which was a delight, but that was technically a bomb. But unfortunately for this one, I don't think this one is going to get that many good reviews, and I'm just going to go out and say it. I thought this was hella mid.
Hella mid. You're not alone. Last time I looked on Rotten Tomatoes, it wasn't fresh, but it was like 55. And I kind of would agree with you. This movie was fine, you know? I think this one was like perfectly unoffensive movies, you know? It's like perfectly serviceable. It's one of those movies where I wish I could tell you that it was just absolutely dog shit or something. It's not. Yeah. And I also wish I could tell you that it was incredible. It's not. The Demeter is a cargo ship that's moving all this cargo. They don't even know what it is. They don't care what it is. They're just moving it from point A to point B. Our main character, his name is Clemens. He gets on the boat. We don't really understand initially why, but he's like, I need to get out of here. I need to go to London. And this boat's going to London. So he's like, great. Let me on. I'm a doctor, XYZ. He gets on, along with, of course, Dracula. This film is so obviously based off of the movie Alien. This is just Alien on a boat, right?
Yes.
100%. It's so obvious that I don't think they're copying. I think this is just like almost a homage, right? Where we get on the boat and it's all these kind of like roughneck, blue collar type guys. They don't really care. They're just trying to get their bonus. You know, like, hey, let's go as fast as we can.
Before we dock, I think we ought to discuss the bonus situation.
Right.
Brett and I, we think we deserve full shares, right, baby?
Again, it's very much like Alien. In Alien, they had a cat. This one has a dog on it. I kind of liked that. I was like, all right, you know, I can see what they're doing. But I feel like if you're going to do an Alien reference, you need to have like another thing. This movie had nothing else. That is it. Dracula gets on a boat. He behaves like the alien in Alien, and he picks off our crew one after the other for about 2 hours, and the movie ends. Right? So there is zero surprises. Whatever you think happens in this film, it happens.
And that brings in one of the problems of the film for me, is that, you know, we talk about this, is that when we're in the theater and you're watching the film, I'm writing the movie.
Yeah.
I'm ahead of what the characters are in there. And you are, as an audience, you already know what's coming up next. And you're waiting for the people and the characters to catch up. I was doing that the whole time.
The movie could have fun with that by like subverting your expectations, right? But this movie doesn't do that. And there's a character in here where, and it's the first mate. He is in denial of everything because he wants to take over the Demeter, right?
Yeah.
But his denial is so stupid. Like it pushes all boundaries of logic, right? They're like, oh, all the livestock get their throat viciously ripped out. And he's like, it was the dog. I'm like, the cute little Labrador or whatever that was ripped out the throats of all your animals. And then when he ripped his own throat out, like, dude, like and he plays that role, that I'm in denial role. He plays it almost the entire film, almost into the third act. They're like, oh, where's our crew member? Where'd he go? They're like, oh, he probably got drunk and fell off the boat. I'm like, dude, come. It really pushes all logic.
The other one where it's like the other guy got snatched up and then he dropped his knife there and then he's like, well, maybe you did it. And he's like, yeah, but I would basically kill him, have the knife, and show y'all the knife, and say, I did it.
It's so characters like that, like, really, like, made the movie more annoying than I think it intended to be. There's a point where everyone on your ship is dead, right? And he's like, nah, everything's cool. Let's just ignore it. At that point, you're like, dude, something clearly is going on the boat.
Yeah,
and it makes the film feel long. Because like you said, you're kind of waiting on him to catch up to you.
It's like, come on, Come on. I was waiting on him to catch up. And at a certain point, I was waiting on the main character, Clemens, to catch up until after he talks to the stowaway, because it was a stowaway on this film. They think it's a stowaway, but it's actually someone that Dracula brought onto the ship to basically be his food. Right. You know how when you go into a theater and you're like, you know what? I think I want some chicken, so I'm bringing some chicken with me. Okay.
Exactly. He's like, I'm bringing this. I'm gonna put this on my shirt.
Exactly.
He brought a little snack with him.
And when he found her, she was stuffed into this coffin. She was malnourished and she had infected blood. So he put his blood, the blood transfusion, into her blood and made her better. Now there's a point in this film where everything switches when everyone is along on board. And when that happens, that's at the peak of Act 2. And I'm looking at my watch, I'm like, that's an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're right. Too long. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can imagine a lot of people jumping off the ship at that point. You know what I mean? You're right. That took too long for the film to finally catch up
to the
with
point.
you. But then there's another thing, and I'm gonna put a spoiler warning. Okay, spoilers here, because now that we all know that Dracula or just a vampire is on the ship, the audience knows vampire rules, but our characters don't. Which makes things cumbersome. They're like, how do we kill it? How does it die? And the girl's like, I don't know. I've been messing with this Dracula thing for millennia. We don't know. I'm like, dude, you just saw someone catch fire in the sunlight. Put that man in the sunlight. But the movie never, at no point, do they ever make a plan to try and put Dracula in the sunlight. This just does not come out. So I feel like me as the audience, they're like, how do you kill it? I'm like, sunlight. I said that immediately in my head, but that never comes up for the characters. Now I get it. They don't know the Dracula rules. But for me, like you said, I'm waiting for them to catch up, and then the movie kind of ends. And so I'm like, oh, they never actually caught up to me. So it felt like they weren't respectful of the fact that this is not the first Dracula film that we've seen, right? That someone in the audience must have thought either a stake to the heart or sunlight or holy water or something, and the movie doesn't respect that.
And with the movie not respecting that, this is a movie, people, you can change stuff and adapt.
Exactly.
There was the religious man on there. After the first couple kills, if he thought there was something on here that was demonic, he should have blessed some type of holy water.
You're totally right. If anybody on the boat had holy water, it'd been him, right? Why? That's such a great point. Like, why do they even have that character if he wasn't even going to attempt to do any of that stuff? You're right.
In the story, he was meant to be the character that is supposed to relate to us.
I guess.
But I don't relate to that dude.
Well, he actually did do one thing that I related to him with. He was like, I'm getting the hell out this boat. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, okay, good idea. But then Dracula like dives after him. And that I didn't understand either. I'm like, what? Why?
Why are you leaving the boat?
Yeah, Dracula's got like a lot of food in the boat. A lot. If one dude goes off, like, what does he care? And it's not like his existence is a secret, because there's a whole village that knows about him. He's got a freaking castle, apparently.
A whole village that knows about him. He's eating his food so much, and then that one piece of macaroni almost falls wasted.
Exactly. I guess he's a gritty dude. I
gotta get my daggone macaroni to get back to this plate.
Yeah. So there's a point in the film where they're suddenly privy to what's going on. They're like, oh, we've got a vampire in the boat. He's eating us one at a time so that he can survive to get to London, right? And then and now they're like, oh, London is less than a day away. There's 5 of us left. So
endless food for him.
Yeah. So I was like, he probably won't kill you, right? He probably won't care. But then he just goes on a killing spree. I'm like, well, why? If his whole thing was just to eat enough to get off the boat, why start murdering everybody like that? Why not just hide? Why not just suddenly vanish and just ease into the port with no problems? Instead, he caused more issues by deciding to kill everybody. So I don't know. The logic didn't make a lot of sense to me.
The positives of this film for me is the look of the film.
Agreed.
The look of the film, the cinematography was done very well, and the special effects was done pretty good too. And we always know that when you're filming at night, it's hard. It's hard to film at night, and they made this film look pretty good at night.
Yeah, it looked great. Creepy and eerie. There's like a mist coming off the ocean. Looked great.
Oh man, that shit was cold.
Yeah,
I was like,
looked good.
By the end of the film, I noticed something about Dracula himself. Throughout the beginning of the film, there was a lot of CGI of the Dracula, but at the end, it was actually like a guy that you can see. And this guy reminded me, ironically, of Nosferatu. Mm-hmm. But Nosferatu was based on Dracula, so it was like a reverse.
Yeah, you're right.
You know,
Dracula was more animalistic, right? And they said, "Oh, don't make the mistake of thinking he's just an animal." But then the whole thing, he just kind of acts like an animal anyway.
Acts like an animal.
Yeah. So like when he starts going this like crazy killing sprees, I don't really understand. But anyway, I like the idea of a more like aggressive, scary, animalistic vampire. You know, I feel like we haven't seen that in a while. That feels like a bit of a throwback, and I enjoyed that. But at the end of the film, where Dracula has apparently eaten his fill, and he's got on a top hat and a cape, and he's got the cane. He's more of a stereotypical or like, I don't know, iconic classic Dracula look.
Classic Dracula,
yeah. And he's in London, and I was like, man, I love the setting of this like Victorian era London. But they kind of leave, again, spoilers here, they kind of leave Clemens, our main character, in kind of a Van Helsing type role. He's like, oh, I'm gonna hunt Dracula down to the end of his days. We'll never find out, because like you said, this movie's bombing. It's not doing very well.
Only 2.5 at the box office, man, this weekend. It ain't
no sequels coming for this. No, ain't no sequels.
This film had some good visual aspects of it and great acting, but the story was just kind of wonky. For me. I see everything coming from miles away.
You could see everything. You could see every story beat here in the commercial. But like I said, that doesn't mean the movie's bad. It's not a bad film, and I could see people liking it. And I like the idea of being trapped in a room with a vampire. Right? There's a lot here, but the movie does nothing with it. Like I feel like someone with a more deft hand could maybe do something more interesting than what happened in this film.
But with all that being said, Corey Hawkins is a great actor. I would love to see him in a lot more things, a lot more often in things. That captain was a really good actor, and that little boy has a future.
Yeah, he was good.
I see him in anything too.
I agree with you.
I am going to give this film a C, straight down the middle.
I'm going to give this one a C+. Like, again, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was fine. Sometimes these like, it was okay. You know, those kind of movies are always annoying because I don't have anything special to say. This is just not a special movie. By the time this video comes out, I forgot I watched it.
Do you recommend for people to see it? Go to the theaters?
No, not in the theater. But if this were streaming, if this were on your computer or at home, I think this would be great to watch at home, you know? But in the movie theater, no, don't leave your house for this.
Nah. Stay at home, watch this on Netflix or Prime or video on demand or something like that. But more importantly, what do you think of this film? Please get in the comments below and let us know what you thought of The Last Voyage or the Demeter. Hey, thank you so much for clicking on this video. We love ya. Please, if you're new to seeing us, hit that subscribe button right at the bottom so we can continue making you laugh and giving you great reviews, huh? And if you did like this rating and review for this film, please hit that thumbs up. Or you can hit that thumbs down, whichever you choose. It is your opinion. Just remember one thing, it's mostly wrong. Blah, blah, blah.
What the hell was that?
That's from Transylvania, man. When Adam Sandler's character's like, I don't say blah, blah, blah.
No, I haven't seen that movie.